So I just received a really big message for all of us who have ever experienced just feeling like it's been difficult as a spiritual person to land and to be present, to even co-create the life that you know in your heart of hearts you are meant to be living. It's what you're here for. And yet, sort of like time and time again, you feel like your efforts haven't really fully rooted and been able to blossom into what you know is possible. And I have so much to share with you on this topic, spanning from metaphysical principles and perspective shifts that are needed and required in order to work with this dynamic, as well as some crossover into the somatic world of being present, being in your body, and as well just the domain of co-creation and what that means with our creator, with God. I think for us to be able to have a conversation about creation, you can't really talk about that on the most fundamental spiritual level if we don't talk about our creator. It does not matter what your religious beliefs are about God. When I say the word God in this video and in all my other videos and content, what I mean is the universal principle of love and the harmony, the peace, the truth, the life that infinitely flows from that source. And so if you have any baggage around that word, please, I just ask that you put that aside for this video and just listen with an open heart and an open mind, because this insight is too important for that stuff to get in the way. So replace that with whatever fits your belief system. But we really do need to talk about and anchor into the source of all creation, because what we're doing when we are co-creating our life is reflecting this power that God has to create everything. And what's really interesting is I have been personally in a couple of cycles now of feeling like I've been divinely inspired to create on this particular path, this particular identity, this particular offering, The list goes on. And I went through 2 years of just almost everything that I created was just not meeting the mark in my own head of, it created momentum, it helps people, it created success, but just deep down, I knew that I was not reaching my full potential and it was eating away at me, if I'm being honest. And you wouldn't be able to see that or know that from the outside, but deep down, I was like, what's going on? I feel like I'm capable of so much more. And in the lead up to this season now, where I'm just fully unleashing my creativity, not only with content, but also with conscious music, and then pouring more into creating courses and such. In the lead up to all of this, I was really deep in metaphysics for the last year. And then for 2 years before that, I was super deep in somatic work. And what's always been really kind of bothersome to me as a spiritual person in the body-based sort of realm is how those two things seem to not intermix, or at least from the, industry point of view. I won't get into it too much, but I feel like there should be more of a bridge between the spiritual and the physical. And it's been like this. I was a body worker before this, and in that physical realm, there just always was this divide between people who believed that it was just a physical problem, and then people who were like, no, it's more than that. It's also the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, all the things, not just physical. And I bring this up because it relates to this fundamental sort of principle about creation, how of course, as a spiritual people, we know deep down and believe that life is spiritual. And yes, we have differing beliefs about what this realm is, this physical material realm, and just how things relate to one another and how that's influenced or governed by the spiritual. We may have differing sort of ideas, protocols, and rules and laws, whatever, that we use to kind of maneuver our way through this physical realm. However, this specific group of people that I'm speaking to, myself included in this group, we are of the understanding that yes, we know above everything we are spiritual, and yet something keeps pulling us to ground more into this physical realm, to be able to really come into our embodiment in this lifetime and create something meaningful, create a huge legacy, whether that is through our work or through our presence, the way that we treat other people, so on and so forth, right? So coming back to this principle of like God created everything that is from love, from truth, from life, and is the source of all things good. And it kind of begs the question, like, okay, so we've heard that. We know it on some level, but are we embodying it? What do our outward co-creations reflect about our beliefs? Because it is true that what we create reflects directly what we understand and believe about ourselves. And because we are the creations of God, what we believe about ourselves is also what we believe about God, is also what we believe about the ultimate creator, his capacity, his power, his presence. I say his, but the God that I believe in is Mother, Father God, so both. So I'll just say he for simplicity. My experiences have shown me just this last couple of months that when I am experiencing a moment of illusion, something that is distorted from truth, from God, that it's not actually that God wasn't there, that God somehow had a moment of lapse in presence or power. It wasn't that God forgot about me and neglected me or was overtaken by this other power or presence, all of which aren't actually possible from the point of view of metaphysics, right? Because we know that God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, and omniactive, always, all of the time, infinitely, eternally. So all of these suggestions from before about there being a time or a situation or some kind of happening where God wasn't present and wasn't all-powerful and was being overtaken by fear, or that something could have happened outside of his allness. Like, does that even make logical sense? If you just think about on a metaphysical level, like the reasoning behind that, it just doesn't follow. If your basic premise is that Creator is the source of everything, God is the source of everything, and that God creates in his image and likeness, love, truth, life, all things good. Did he ever create something that wasn't reflecting that? Is that even possible? And so we start to think about, okay, well, when we hold this basic premise in our thought and kind of reason from that, then we start to see all the places in which our thought, our behavior, our presence doesn't line up with the ultimate truth. And I think for a long time, while I was doing somatic work, I wasn't able to take in that truth. I needed to be able to get to a place of, I would say, stability and secureness within myself, to be able to turn the lens back on myself and say, oh, I wasn't quite right with this belief. I wasn't quite, aligned with the highest level of truth that I want to be expressing. And that's kind of where I departed from somatic work. You may be able to relate to this too. Like, as a spiritual person, there's a couple of things here. There is this intersection between somatic work and spirituality, and I was saying how they should be a bridge to one another because the body is the connecting point, the bridge between the physical and the spiritual. Like, I just don't see it any other way. And in these two arenas, they have some shared principles and concepts and shared outcomes. The biggest one being present, right? As spiritual people, we're always trying to be more present, and same with the somatic community. And they do that just by being more in the body, using our physical senses to connect with what is presently happening around us according to our senses. Spirituality, maybe through meditation or connecting with a different sense of what's real. However, where the two started to kind of disconnect for me was when basically my life started to rearrange itself in a very intense way the last 6 to 8 months. And I realized that it didn't make sense to me to find safety in a physical way anymore, because as a spiritual person, I knew that this ultimate truth was that life is spiritual. Life is not physical. And yet here I am using my physical senses to try to create a sense of safety when all safety, stability, and constancy comes from God. That's when I started to take a sharp detour out of somatic work and into spiritual work. But I'm talking about this because it relates to like how we use our sense of presence and how we relate to this idea of omnipresence, like God's presence, and why our outer reflections of our co-creations are the way that they are. Because if you have a hard time being present in your body, in this physical realm, it's, like I said, it's a reflection of your view of yourself and, as an extension, your view of God. So if you are like, it's not safe to be here because of XYZ, we all have our valid reasons of why we kind of dissociated from our bodies in the first place and found more safety in the spiritual. I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's just that when we can recognize these beliefs and these patterns from a place of love and compassion, we can see that, oh, like now when you're at a place of wanting to co-create the life that you want to live, and dissociation, not being present, not being able to be present despite wanting to be, is actually blocking you from seeing things clearly, from being able to root in to this physical material realm to be able to drive the impact that you're here to create. It serves now as a block to what you were trying to bring about. And so it's important to look at these things from a place of just objectivity now. Like, you're not the same person who you were when these protections were in place. You've grown. And when you're in a place to be able to look at these things and say, oh, this isn't serving me anymore, and I actually need to shift something in this understanding so that I can evolve and I can expand and have more and serve more, then we have something to work with, right? So coming back to just your view of yourself and of God when you are not able to be present. I get it, because this is exactly what I have been dealing with as well. You know, I have my own reasons for feeling like there was just a lot of absence in my life. My parents were not always around. And even when they were not like emotionally present with me, which was something I really needed as a child. And so I have reasons to have formed beliefs around the absence of love, the absence of life sometimes. And as an extension of that, when you zoom all the way out, what I was saying about God, the creator, was that God is not present all of the time. That there was a period of time in my own life where God wasn't omnipresent. And so this is important, because what I've come to understand at this point is that when I carry erroneous beliefs about the creator of all things, this becomes a huge problem. When I try to use my own creative power, because I derive it from God ultimately, and my beliefs shape how I am able to use this power. God's power does not change regardless of what I think about it or what you think about it. God is omnipotent always. God is omnipresent always. Truth is true no matter what you think about it. So what effect then does my own thinking have on my co-creative ability? Well, instead of now being able to draw from God's pure potential of creation, limitless, infinite, now I put my own filter on top of that, or try to, and I diminish it down to what I believe is true. And on top of that, because God is truth and God is all-powerful, only what is true contains his power, contains real creative power that creates things that are enduring, that are lasting, that are real, and have like limitless potential to grow and to impact and bless others and yourself. When we create from falsehood, illusion, our own beliefs that are not true of ourselves or of God, we are literally creating out of nothingness. Truth is the only thing that contains creative power. Falsehood has nothing behind it, has no power. God didn't create error. He didn't create the opposite of truth, because he's all truth. He couldn't create the opposite of himself. So when we try to create from a place of error, what we create eventually will destroy itself, because it is void of the true power that gives life, the true power that creates. We dampen that down to the degree that we disbelieve in God's omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, and omni-action. So when this all clicked in for me, I was just like, whoa, this makes so much sense why so many of my past creations kind of like took off for a little while and then crashed and fell to the ground. I was drawing from this sense of falsity. I was powering it with my own willpower, which is different from true creative power from God. It makes sense why things don't have that like sense of life to them, where they just naturally take shape, they just naturally bloom. Like I was just walking this morning looking at the plants and the trees in the neighborhood, and I was just like, how weird would it be if God planted this plant and then just like ripped it out of the ground? Or like if he planted it and let it grow and then cut its stem before it got a chance to like, do anything. Or if he just like ripped off all of the flowers and just like stunted the beauty and the growth of his own idea. God doesn't do those things, and I feel like our beliefs, our false beliefs about the creative nature of the creative power is what creates those things and those types of results. I want to come back to the thing about dissociation and why that's so important to understand about ourselves. I think that, again, when we dissociate from our bodies, we are basically affirming a reality where it is not safe to be here. And where that came from is probably some kind of belief around love or some type of goodness that we needed and expected not being there when we needed it. And again, that belief, although it may have been formed from your past experiences that actually happened, metaphysically, spiritually, the ultimate truth is still true, that God is and always was omnipresent. So our task then is to kind of work backwards from this truth if we want to apply and co-create with creative power in a way that is enduring and lasts and feels peaceful and right and just fully supported. The work isn't like making truth true. Truth will always be true, no matter what we think about it, again. But I think that our work is to apply that truth and see how we can make it apply to our situation and our life. Of course, like it's easy to just give power to our own beliefs, but if you don't like what you're creating and you don't want to create more of it, then, you can't lose anything by applying truth that contains all creative power to your life and, letting it transform things for you. It's a lot less work when we do it from the basic premise and follow that natural kind of line of creation. But there's a squirrel right there. He wants to join in on the conversation. So talking about omnipresence, I think moving forward and also speaking about the way that we want to try to apply the truth that is always true as much as possible to our own experiences and to our own beliefs, how can we say that God is omnipresent? Because in order for us to feel fully safe to be in this physical realm, as people who have been used to dissociating and like not letting ourselves fully be here, how can we make it safe for ourselves knowing that God is omnipresent? How can we make this material realm a place where we can just like stay? I was just walking right before this and it hit me that my past experiences led me to believe that, and like that deep inner spiritual knowing that wherever God, creator, our source is where we are the safest. My personal beliefs led me to believe that this entire physical realm is not safe. And so I rejected everything material and felt like the spiritual was the only safe place for me. However, today I saw things very differently, and I think it's going to make a massive, massive difference to the way that I show up in the world and the impact I'm going to be able to have. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I want you to know this too, is that I don't actually think anymore that it's like God is here or there. I think God is here and there. And it makes sense. Like when I was in the somatic space, there was a lot of just like orienting to the good. Like that was a technique and a practice that was so simple, right? But it works. And if you don't know what that is, it's literally just like looking around you. It can look in many different ways. If you were to do it in your environment, you just look for the things that look beautiful or give you a sense of calm when you look at them. And you're like consciously recognizing that there is goodness and safety in your environment. And that is kind of very similar in principle to like recognizing God's omnipresence, because God is all goodness. All good things come from God. And so as you're looking around, recognizing all the goodness that's there, that is the exact same thing as recognizing the presence of God. And it's not even just in your immediate environment either. I've had times when I was like really in a low place, and that practice kind of extended to just listing off all of the good things that were happening in my life right now. Same thing as when you list off all the things that you're grateful for, or like what's working for you right now. When you focus on the good, you are literally showing your nervous system that goodness, aka God, is here right now. And it's not that he's only in the spiritual and not at all in the physical. And it's not that we have to navigate on our own in this realm, and that the spiritual safety is just somewhere else, like we have to close our eyes and like tune out of this world in order to access it. I mean, you can do that, but more and more what I'm realizing is that it's about noticing the presence and power of love, of truth, of life, of goodness right here or right now in this moment and in this material lived reality. And that is how we bring heaven to earth. That is how we recognize God's omnipresence and make it true in our experience so that we can create more reflections of it. And what that does is both somatic and spiritual, right? It gives your body a sense of, oh, well, if God's here, then it's safe for me to be here. You just inherently are wired to know this. And especially as someone who's spiritual, you know that wherever God is, you're safe. And so if God is here in this material realm, you can be here too. I don't know about you, but that's just like such a wave of just relief and comfort, even as I'm saying that. And I've been, affirming this to myself so much lately. And every time I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Like with this understanding, it's not just a thought. It's just not just a nice thought to have. It is the embodied understanding of omnipresence means always present in any space, any time, right? So if God is always walking with me, I have nothing to be afraid of. Love and fear cannot exist at the same time, and God is love, right? So love is always present. Truth is always present. Life is always present for us to tap into and for us to be here with and to let in. And when we can do that, we can step and walk in life being less afraid, feeling less anxious, feeling more capable of handling what life has to bring. And so we're more present, we're more available, we have a higher level of capacity and tolerance for the hard stuff, and we're able to free up more of our creative energy, be more directly connected to God, the source of creative energy, and create. We have so much less standing in our way when we are present somatically and spiritually, knowing that we are safe in our bodies here and now because God is also here and now, walking with us every step of the way. We don't have to worry about the past, the future. It's just this now moment. And I really hope that you take some time after this video to let this truth sink in. And you don't have to necessarily chew on it too much, because what I've noticed with my study of metaphysics is that like just the presence of truth destroys illusion and error faster than anything. There's nothing you need to humanly do. It just happens, just like how love dissolves away fear and pain and suffering. There's no effort required. Like you letting this truth in, you letting yourself have this moment of awareness it's already in effect. It's already happening. Your co-creative power is already going to be enhanced just from listening to this. And of course, you're going to get opportunities to apply this understanding if you want to even deeper. I just feel like I'm sick and tired of spiritual people not being able to make the impact that they're here to make. It's sad. It's sad to go through it. It's sad to see other people going through it. And the world needs you more than ever to really become embodied and like start really, creating more ripples. Obviously, your presence on its own is already a huge gift to this planet. And I know that you know deep down that there is so much more that you are here to bring to this planet. And so it is safe to be here. It is safe to let yourself land and allow God to walk with you as you create what you came here to create. And it's going to be so much more easeful. It's going to be so much more enjoyable. It's going to be like real. It's going to be so much less of like thinking that, oh, this dream still feels just out of reach, or like one day this will happen. No, it's going to start actually happening. You know why? Because you are basing your co-creations and drawing from the only source of true creative power, God, that creates everything that is real. So you see all of these different pieces are connecting together to, like, I guess, click everything into place. Your legacy is about to unfold, and you just needed a little perspective shift to get you off on your way. And I'm genuinely so excited for this insight to land for myself and for you. It like just came in today for me. So I would love to hear from you in the coming days, or weeks, if you come back to this video, what's been going on for you since coming into this awareness, and how you're implementing this understanding into your life, because that's really when we get the most harvest out of the wisdom that comes, right? When we actually go and apply it. So yeah, I just really am honored to be able to share this wisdom with you that just like blew my freaking mind. God has been doing that a lot for me lately, just every single day, just hitting me with truth bombs. And yeah, what I do is just take it in and integrate it. And when the time is right, I share it with you all. So yeah, I hope that this is helpful for you. And if you like this kind of content, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment. It really does help this channel to reach, and this message to reach, the people who are needing to hear it today. So thank you so much for joining me. Sending you lots and lots of love. I will see you in the next video.